My name's Phil Dvorak. I'm one of the pastors at Recovery Church. Recovery Church is a unique ministry. We focus on reaching those who are early in their journey of recovery, their journey of sobriety, their journey of faith. Basically a non-believer, a man of peace, a person of peace, if you want to look at it that way, and a Baptist minister got together, and they felt that God was telling them that I needed to plant a church. And we started meeting at that Baptist church and doing something in the evenings on a Saturday night. And it was okay, it was good. And over some time, God convicted me and said that we really needed to go to where the people were. And so we felt God leading us to move our community to downtown Lake Worth. So when Recovery Church first moved down to Lake Worth a few years ago, we actually started off, we had this little bay right here, this little spot here that now is an art studio. And immediately outgrew that spot, and God opened up the door across the alleyway here at this coffee shop. The first night, we literally had people standing outside here, outside the coffee shop, because they couldn't fit in and out into the roadway here. People not able to come to the service because there was not enough room. It was an exciting, beautiful time. There was no AC half the time. It was a broken, beautiful mess. But every week we were seeing lives transformed. We were seeing people come to faith. We were seeing people surrender their addictions and their desires to live life on their own will and start to surrender over to Jesus. We knew we couldn't stay in that location much longer. And literally directly across the street was an old blues jazz club where we're sitting right now, the Bamboo Room. Finally, all of a sudden, God opened up the door, and we've been meeting in the Bamboo Room now for about 2 years.
My name's Junior, and I've struggled with addiction for over a decade. One day, I just got to a point where, I wanted to end my life, and that's when I decided to go to treatment. See, in treatment, all they have is decaf, and a guy invited me to church, and I said, nah, God doesn't want anything to do with me. I'm too dirty, let me clean myself up, then I'll go to church, in the future. And he was just like, well, you know what, they actually have coffee at church. I'm like, real coffee? He's like, yeah. I'm like, then is this decaf stuff? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, then I'm going to church then. And when I got there, God spoke to my heart and said, you don't clean you, I clean you. And then when I got out, I started going to regular AA meetings. I lived in a recovery house, and everybody's complaining about everything. I complain about everything. But see, when I go to church, it's different, because at church, people can be going through all types of stuff, but no matter what they're going through, they'll be like, but God is good, and they'll look at the bright side instead of sitting in a room where everybody's complaining, including myself. So it wasn't until I started going to Recovery Church and I realized that, there is church and there is recovery and it's brought together. I thought that was the coolest thing. I'm like, man, that's like peanut butter and jelly being brought together. You've got Jesus and recovery all in one. That's great. As an addict, I felt like people at church would judge me and think that they're better. You know what I mean? I was projecting my own insecurities onto them. That's a fact. But nonetheless, coming to Recovery Church, it's a place where people that struggle with addiction can feel like, you know what? I feel like I can go here. I'll go, because they ain't gonna judge me. They got the same problem I got. So I think that's the difference. It's not really the Sunday or the Wednesday. It's the fact that they feel more comfortable going there because they don't feel like they're gonna be judged. Not saying that church is actually judging them, but we project our own insecurities onto other people. A friend reminded me, they're like, the story in the Bible where the blind man sees? I'm like, yeah. It's like, imagine you were a blind man. I'm like, okay. They're like, and then God gives you your vision. I'm like, okay, now I can see. They're like, now imagine that you're around nothing but blind people, and you just walk around like, I can see, y'all, and just move around. How would you feel? I'm like, when you put it that way, I feel really selfish, because God has healed me and taught me how to see, and there's all these other blind people around me, and I'm not helping them to regain their sight. And they're like, well, what if other people, after they got sober, never came back to give? Would you ever get sober? I have a responsibility. If God has healed me of something and I know how to get healed from it, it's my duty as a Christian to help people that struggle with the same things that God has helped me overcome.
I want to think about the mission or the passion or the vision behind Recovery Church that God has unfolded. You know, the why. Why are we taking the resources, the time, the energy to do this? And for me, when I look out at the room and I know this is someone's daughter, I know this is someone's sister, someone's brother, someone's father. And I start to think about what is a soul worth? What is a life worth? We've done a Good Friday service and I had someone yell and scream, they're not going to kill him, are they? Because they had no knowledge of the story of the gospel. We have to share the gospel. And there's no better story of the gospel, there's no better example than seeing lives restored and transformed that everyone else thought were hopeless. And I see that on a regular basis.